Before I retired a few years ago, I was a lawyer for 40 years. And in that career, I was a trial lawyer because I really loved trials and going to court and doing the things that you need to do as a trial lawyer, cross-examining witnesses and arguing and presenting cases to judges and juries and living and dying with those results. And it's kind of dramatic, and the storyteller in me got lots of exercise there. So anyway, I loved it. But as any lawyer would tell you, most cases do not go to trial. Most cases settle. And why is that? And it's because of that word, doubt. If you get a case as a lawyer and you have a doubt as to what the outcome will be if you go to trial, you tend to start thinking about how can we resolve this without going to trial. And both sides start thinking that way, and they start talking about it, and eventually most cases settle before they go to trial. And that was my experience as well. I didn't really love that. I liked to go to trial, but sometimes it was in the client's best interest to settle. So anyway, a lot of times early in my career, I represented insurance companies. And they like to settle because they're afraid of juries, what bonanza jury might award to a plaintiff, and so the insurance company generally wants you as their lawyer to settle cases. But I resisted that to some degree. And sometimes where the doubt lay in the case really determined what my approach was. And I want to tell you about one case where it ended up being without a doubt. All the doubt got removed, and I'll tell you how. And it made the resolution of the case actually fairly simple. This case involved two brothers. I'm going to call them the Anderson brothers. I don't frankly remember their names. I hope it wasn't Anderson. But I doubt that it was. And it actually happened here in York County. The Anderson brothers were injured in a one-car auto accident on a township road where they went downhill to a bridge. They went across the bridge, and on the other side of the bridge there was a curve, and their car didn't negotiate the curve. It went straight into a field on the other side of the bridge and struck a tree. And they were both very seriously injured. They both had broken bones. They both ended up needing surgery. Luckily, neither of them died, and neither of them had any permanent injuries, but they were serious enough injuries that there was going to be a lawsuit arising out of this accident. So they went and hired a plaintiff's attorney, and he filed a case on their behalf alleging that the road was unsafe, that the township had noticed there had been several prior accidents at the same site, and the township hadn't done anything to correct the problems. And so here was this accident, and the township should have done something to prevent it. On our side of the case, the insurance company and I immediately had the reaction, they must have been going too fast. But unfortunately, we didn't have any evidence of that. The police report did not cite them for any kind of speeding or reckless driving. The police report noted that there were no skid marks, so there wasn't anything the police could measure to check their speed. And of course, when they asked the two brothers, who were like 16 and 18 years old, when they asked them how fast they were going, they said somewhere between 40 and 45 because the speed limit was 45. So luckily, they were not speeding, according to them. So I was left without any evidence for our version of the story, and I hired an accident reconstruction specialist to go in and do measurements and try to come up with a scenario of what really happened. And so in doing that, I hired him, and we went to the site, and I always liked going to the actual site of the accident to do my own investigation, and it proved useful in lots of cases, and in this case, extremely useful, as you'll see. So we got to the site, and the expert's off doing measurements, and he's typing things into his phone and checking several manuals and things about the angle of the curve and the descent to the bridge and measuring the bridge and all that. And while he was off making his notes, I was standing on the bridge, and under the bridge there was a guy fishing. And I just said hi to him. He said hi. He said, "What are you guys doing?" I said, "We're investigating this accident." He said, "Oh, the Anderson brothers accident?" I said, "Yes, as a matter of fact." He said, "I went to high school with them." He said, the brother who was driving told me they made 3 runs down the hill trying to get fast enough that they could fly over the bridge without touching it, and they called it catching air. And he said the 3rd time down they actually caught air, and that's when they went across and ran into the tree. And I said, "What is your name, sir?" I took his name and address, and I notified the Anderson brothers attorney that there was a witness who had heard an admission from his clients, or on behalf of one of his clients, and that I was going to be bringing him to the trial if there was one. And lo and behold, there was no trial. They withdrew the lawsuit. So that was what happens when there's a lawsuit, without a doubt.